Hello everyone and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I gotta start with this from BD. Ran a poll yesterday on when people first bought XRP. The result: we're nowhere near the top. 56% bought in 2016 to 2020 equals the battle-tested core. Only 36% are new waves, 2020 to now. Tops come in when fresh money dwarfs old money. We're not there yet. Big shout out to those who first bought XRP during the lawsuit era. And you see 8% bought from 2012 to 2016. Now, it doesn't matter if you bought your XRP yesterday. What matters is this: you bought before the institutions got here. For the first time in history, retail beat the institutions to something like XRP. It's the same reason I always tell people, if you're going to get into crypto, now's the time to do it. If you keep waiting, you're going to be too late to some of these cryptocurrencies. But he is right. The fact that we haven't seen the FOMO money show up yet, the top is nowhere near in yet on XRP. Wait until you see the FOMO over the coming months. This comes from Smoke, not a drill. Swift's chief innovation officer just resurfaced an 8-year-old article about Ripple competing with Swift. His words: see you at CBOS 2025. What does he know about Ripple and Swift that the rest of the world is not supposed to see yet? I guess we'll find out soon. And what they were calling Ripple back then was the CBOS killer, because they were having Swift CBOS, and there was very little people there. Everybody was attending Ripple Swell, which was like right across the street. And I think that's when Swift realized that Ripple's going to emerge as a major player in this space. And they either got to get on board with Ripple or they're going to be left behind by Ripple. But now, in the background, while everybody's listening to the mainstream media news hype up Bitcoin, a whole new financial system is building in the background. XRP could hit $100 in 2017 style breakout as analysts sees 300x potential from current levels. So they're citing the 2017 run, and they're saying if history repeats, we're going to see XRP hit $100. Not based on anything else, just a similar run to 2017. History repeating itself. But then you got to factor in everything else, all the catalysts that are about to play out over the coming months. That's going to be absolutely game-changing. I honestly don't think XRP will hit $100 without the ETFs and institutional money entering this space. If it does, without that, and you pile everything on top of it, we are going so much higher. XRP isn't illiquid and difficult to move as cattle in the 1800s. He has no clue about XRP and the XRP ledger, yet speaks so confidently about it. XRP settles within 3 to 5 seconds for fractions of a penny. This guy is so excited and not knowing anything. Take a listen to this.
ETFs are for like when you need to invest in cattle and you can't like move the cattle to the New York Stock Exchange. So you have to have an ETF that it's like, don't worry, those cattle are there. But XRP, in theory, like you should be able to send it here and there instantaneously for free. So the fact that it needs an ETF tells you that it is as illiquid and difficult to move as cattle in the 1800s. And so
this guy has absolutely no clue. First of all, XRP doesn't need the ETFs at all. These companies realized that they could drum up a lot of money by filing for an XRP ETF. They realized there's demand for an XRP ETF. But if you actually knew what XRP was, you could move XRP around the world in a matter of seconds for less than a penny. And they still haven't realized that yet. They're still believers in the Lightning Network. You know, eventually these people are all going to be gone. You're never going to hear from them again. I'm telling you, once XRP flips Bitcoin, you'll never hear about any of this FUD ever again. If you were ever wondering how XRP could disappear off the retail market, this is it. Translation: this is what is known as the Shane Ellis theory. Take a listen to the Tucrium CEO.
You know, it's hard to say. If they get approved as a bank and then announce they're not going to sell any more XRP onto the market because they want to capitalize the bank, I think that would be an enormous impetus for price. That's gigantic.
So think about it like this. All that XRP will never see the market ever again. Now, Ripple, I don't know if that's the path they will go down or not, but this would play into the Shane Ellis theory, which has been around the XRP community for a very long time. So many are liking it to the Shane Ellis theory because of the signal's name, Ellis. Institutional adoption of XRP could be a bit chaotic to the market. The symbol has to do with chaos magic. The Shane Ellis theory proposes that XRP's price could spike dramatically to extremely high levels like $1,000 or more per token without requiring billions of dollars in additional investment. The theory is based on the structure of order books in financial markets and how liquidity works in cross-border payments. The Shane Ellis theory makes sense. It's almost like supply and demand meets the market cap multiplier. So far, half of this theory is already playing out, the market cap multiplier. But if Ripple was to lock away the rest of that XRP and never sell it on the open market, could you imagine how quick we would reach scarcity once XRP's price really starts to take off? All of a sudden, the demand would be insane. And at the same time, the price of XRP would also hit some crazy price numbers, but everybody would have to have it as well. It would be like the perfect storm for XRP. 589, we would blow past 589 very quick if that was to happen. XRP versus XLM, difference, adoption, and long-term growth. It's 2025 and we're still putting XRP against XLM and XLM against XRP. And even in the XRP and XLM communities, there's people that fight back and forth every single day. My crypto is better than your crypto, and so on. But XRP and XLM are going to be working side by side. They're very similar, but yet they have some different use cases. And when XRP moves, it tends to take XLM with it. That's why I always told you, if you hold XRP, hold XLM. If you hold XLM, hold XRP. Because that's the better play. I mean, think about it. If XLM is for person-to-person payments, remittances, and so on, okay, you're holding a cryptocurrency that's going to be moving all that money. And if XRP was bank-to-bank transfers, cross-border payments, and so on, then you're holding the cryptocurrency that's going to be moving all that money. So it's a win-win no matter how you look at it. XRP wins Central Bank of Malaysia's major acknowledgement. So the Central Bank of Malaysia just named XRP alongside Bitcoin as a potential replacement for cash and bank deposits. Try to buy something with Bitcoin. You're going to be paying way more for whatever you're buying, and you're going to be standing there for 10 to 20 minutes waiting for the transaction to go through. Bitcoin is never going to replace money. It's never going to happen. That was always the Bitcoin maxi narrative. Bitcoin's going to replace the US dollar and everybody's going to have Bitcoin. It's nonsense. But eventually, cryptocurrencies like XRP, XLM, XDC, and so on, they could replace cash in the future. You know, crypto is going to be the machine-to-machine money as well. The robot money, the AI money. So it would make sense that people are transacting every single day in XRP or XLM or XDC. But for the mainstream media or mainstream users, I'm thinking mass adoption. But so the everyday person that never invested into crypto, what would they be using? They're going to be using central bank digital currency or a stable coin. And that's why it's so important to be invested into crypto, because I think you're going to be transacting on separate rails from a central bank digital currency, from a digital dollar, digital euro, digital pound, and so on. So your transactions are not going to be tracked the way a CBDC would be tracked or a stable coin would be tracked. It's going to give you a different level as well. In other words, by then, you would most likely be part of the 1% because you got into crypto very early. Elon Musk backs universal high income, fearing AI will take every job. So what does Elon mean by high income? You know, they're already testing out UBI in a lot of places here in the United States. Some cities are already doing it. They just give random people $1,000 a month, but they control what they're paying for. In other words, they can't buy alcohol or cigarettes or certain other things with that money. It has to be used for bills and rent and things like that, and basic necessities. So when Elon is pushing universal high income, I think a lot of people rally around that. They figure, oh, I'm going to get a lot of money for free because Elon Musk is saying it, universal high income. But the reality is you're going to end up on universal basic income, and it's going to come from the government. And whenever something is free, it comes with strings attached. And that's why I always looked at crypto as an escape from that, because you will be transacting on different rails compared to central bank digital currency rails. Even the digital dollar, the stable coin that the US government talks about all the time, we're not going to have a CBDC, we're going to have a stable coin. Well, a stable coin and a CBDC are the same exact thing, except it depends on who issued it. If the Fed issues it, it's a CBDC. If Ripple issues it, it's a stable coin. That's the only difference. Even on the XRP ledger, we already know they could claw back the stable coin. They could claw back RLUSD. They could freeze RLUSD. They can't do that with XRP, though. So in the future, when this stable coin rolls out as the digital dollar, and maybe you're in another country where you're going to experience the digital euro or digital pound, wouldn't it be better to be holding something like XRP instead, knowing they can't claw it back, they can't control what you're buying with it? You see how crypto makes a lot more sense. And we're early to crypto, so that's a very good thing. We got in before the price skyrockets on these cryptocurrencies. We are excited to announce that Trish Turner, former head of digital assets at the IRS, has joined Crypto Tax Girl as our new tax director. With all of the big crypto tax and compliance changes on the horizon, we are excited to have Trish on board to help advise our clients. You know what this lady did? She said, I'm out at the IRS and I'm going to make more money in the private sector. But maybe she also left because she knows that the IRS is on borrowed time. That's what the tariffs were all about, was eliminating the IRS anyway. But I would just like to see them eliminate the taxes on US-made cryptocurrencies. Even if Bitcoin is mined in the US, that mined Bitcoin, if you could track it in the US and say, hey, this was mined on US soil, that should be tax-free as well. But I want to see what they do with the IRS going forward. But I think this lady made the right decision. She probably had a huge jump in her paycheck as well. But no matter how you look at it, crypto is the better play going into the digital age because you're holding something that's going to be worth so much money. Think about it. They're moving digital dollars. They're moving central bank digital currencies using the bridge asset that you invested in before the institutions even got here. And you are going to be a legend in the future. But until it all happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.